So, hello to everybody, and we welcome Aisha Salem today. We are very happy to see you here. Thank you very much for being with us. Yeah, awakening and enlightenment. Maybe you could put in your words how life is after awakening. What is the difference between before and afterwards?
Well, first of all, I would say it kind of matters to, just so that people are clear, what does awakening mean? Because there's a lot of confusion even in that field. There is the part of surrendering ourselves into ourself and like falling into the heart and coming into the death of the ego in that sense. And that is what points towards what I would refer to as self-realization. I wouldn't call that awakening.
Okay.
Awakening itself, I would see as a coming beyond the beyond, that beyond which we die into when we die into life, but like going even further than that, as in dying beyond consciousness itself and awakening as pure awareness. Yeah. So with that said, and then you ask me like the before and the after. Before, there was very much a moving with life, which was based on a death of the me, in a way, I could say. A death of the me, of the little me, which then became like a falling in love, falling into like the big me, yeah? So when that bursted all together, it was like the end of even the big me. It's like the prior to God kind of thing.
Okay.
So in the return from that, you're asking me, like, how is it different? It's different in the sense that once that death beyond, like completely beyond, has happened, then that which is taking place after becomes more like a direct birth of the little me as the big me. You understand?
Okay. Yes.
It's kind of like a coming completely into the human.
Yes.
As pure soul.
Yes.
Yeah. That's, yeah. But in that regards, the incarnation itself, that descent into and in through the human sphere, and actually the deep awakening in the womb of the human being, it's deeply challenging. But in that sense, now it's not challenging to anyone. It's like, it's not like there is suffering as such, because it demands the identification factor to happen for there to be actual suffering. But that doesn't mean that there's not pain, because what I've very much experienced is in coming in is like that there is like a call for the complete transcendence of like the conditioning of everything that actually keeps us from being human, even if we walk around believing ourselves to be human, So actually like a birth of the true human in terms of coming in as like the actual compassion and the human warmth, which is devoid of that identification and like investments and identification and like, yeah.
Yeah. It's also called the dark night of the soul, the process of integration of the experience.
Yeah. But I would say in a sense that the dark night and the dark night of the soul, I would say that in any dimension of realization, there is a meeting with darkness in some sense. And it's more like in that complete coming in, that meeting with the darkness is more like a meeting with or dying the Black Mother in terms of coming in as full consciousness into matter. Yeah. So in that sense, it's different. Before it was very much about an expansion, like first into universal consciousness, and then like even like beyond that or behind that, or I don't even know what to call it. But in that coming in there now, it's more like drawing that entire expanse into and in through the human flesh, and just like deeply into the earth itself.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you are the earth, the creation as a whole.
And so are you.
Yes.
Mm. In one sense, I can say that I watch and witness as every aspect of realization bounces off each other constantly. So it's kind of like as the coming in is happening, before it was like heart met the mind, and then the mind disappeared, and then, but now it's kind of like the mind itself meets up with the complete, I could almost say complexity of the earth wisdom, which it isn't complex, and yet it's like such an incredible amount of detail, and everything being so non-linear, and yet so intelligent, and yet so precise.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really, really beautiful to witness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
The cultivation itself is also very interesting, I would say. Yeah, because it is really like the mind, it bursts into the, like from the emptiness, and it bursts straight into the complete detail level of everything, you know. Like all the way in there. And where before, because there are these 3 dimensions of realization, where before realization through the heart still left a gut and a head, like a background and a reflection through the human being, where there hadn't been that transcendence yet. Since that could be the case, then there was like some kind of background to whatever was realized. You know, truth was truth, but it had truth, and then there was something else, even when there wasn't. But that's something that you don't really see until, even like when you, in that full expansion into the God consciousness, there is like an experience. I mean, the full experience, the eyes are the universe, are all the way into the universe. And yet, as that shifts into another dimension, all of a sudden that is seen, that expands, and that capacity is to be brought into another dimension and another dimension. So it's just
So you could say the process never stops.
I haven't seen it do so far, no. But at the same time, it's end after end. But every moment that ends is also a new beginning. So in one sense, I could say that even if this cultivation has been running for 15 years, and very strongly so, I could at the same time say that this is like, now it begins.
Yes.
I will say that again tomorrow. Now it begins.
Yes. And nothing.
The deeper that the being is explored and found, the more it is seen how the more you know that you don't know anything. It's really humbling, I must say.
So do you make any difference between awakening and enlightenment? If we use the terms, or maybe you won't use the terms anyway?
I don't really use that term, no. But I could say that there is a big difference between, I mean, enlightenment. For me, it's just a word. It's just a word. And I'm saying it's just a word because the word I would rather like refer to in this regard is liberation. And awakening and liberation is not the same. Awakening itself, we have a tearing loose of that which has attached itself to existence as someone, yeah? A tearing loose of that and a dissolve, an explosion, a complete fragmentation that shatters into like 1,000 pieces, which then becomes nothing in pure space, yeah? But that doesn't mean that in the machinery of everything which was clinging itself to existence has ceased to exist. Because what happens for a lot of people then is that then that which was clinging just clings itself to space. So liberation, I would say, is that extent of letting go which leaves behind every realization, which lets every realization go to allow every realization, which thereby becomes like a stateless state, not a stateless state as if like the stateless state is a state, you know, but like the stateless state is exactly a reference to what I was describing before as this reflection between all dimensions of being, wherein nothing gets to stick anywhere, like no landing anywhere, but not no landing anywhere as a way of staying out of here either, because there's definitely a landing of being and of soul here, but there's not someone landing anywhere.
Does it also has to do something with healing in your experience? Is it kind of healing, like wholeness?
It's totally included. The healing, the wholeness is very much, in my experience, I mean, every part of it is healing in a way, you know? Because if you look at reality, we have the reality of totality, which means a complete uncovering and a complete transcendence of identification through all of these dimensions of being, which actually leaves more of an alignment between the human, the divine, and like nothing. But that alignment itself can actually, it can only happen if there is a healing which allows that full merging with every logic of reality, yeah? Because all of that is a part of the healing in a way. But if you think about like the human healing, the existential healing, the healing of matter, of the body, I would very much say that's maybe more than ever what I'm like witnessing and watching happening now. I'm watching like the God realization come in as a holder of my human body and a complete unfolding of all of these exiled bits and pieces of my woman in a way, which weren't held by the masculine, like as the feminine, like body feminine, being held by the masculine, by me as consciousness. And to allow that full healing to happen, it's just like, I mean, all of the time, just things are popping up and out, like from before I was 1 year old, back in the ancestral line, like just things are like flying everywhere. And I'm just watching this show, and it's quite incredible, and it's interesting, and it's challenging.
Yeah.
But it's really beautiful, and it's like for every little bit or piece that falls into place in terms of that wholeness of the human being, which is happening now. For every little bit and piece that's like falling off in terms of like any misunderstanding within that fabric of the consciousness of my body, there is like another, like more space for my soul in a way to arrive. Another chip off, so like a greater vulnerability is the case, and that there's space for that vulnerability. Yeah.
So all the subconscious come up to consciousness.
Okay, I could say it like this. If you see, like, we have the back side of being and we have like the front side of being. And each, like, we have the 3 dimensions. So actually being through the headspace realized is the awakening. That's the primordial silence. It's pure awareness. It's just like light turned on, yeah? In the heart, we have the divine masculine. In that falling into the heart, there's like the expansion into the universe, like endless expansion, but it's existential, odd existential, yeah? And then we have downwards, we have the Black Mother, like falling into like the being of her. It's just like becoming one with the being of the earth, yeah? But then on the front end of that, we have the fact that our mind and our heart, our human heart, and like just like our whole experience of ourselves as individual human beings are standing, awaiting to have a proper reflection, like a proper gestation with that being itself. And that's exactly what I'm experiencing here, that these like exiled places within the human body, within my woman more than anything. It's very much about the woman in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've, in terms of the neutral, in terms of just a human being, that was very much what was the case in the whole falling into the heart. You know, it was God and human that was like being balanced there. At the moment we come down to the reality of man and woman, like that earth wisdom, that deep, I can only say that, like, even within that human realm, it's almost like going down and then like down and out like that. But there's like a teaching in that sense which is going on. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Really, more than anything, I would say that movement, the down and then educating the front of the being, that is more than anything, it's an invitation for that complete intimacy with everything. Especially like partner-wise. I'm in consult work with my partner, and that seems to be where we constantly click keys into place and allowing that full healing to become the case. And also of like the human core wound in totality, that simply it needs to be completely healed to come into that wholeness as the human. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the healing of the whole universe, if we could say so.
Yup.
So, would you say dedication is your way? Dedication to what is, to what wants to unfold?
It's dedication, my way. I would say that yeah, I guess you could say so. I don't know if I would if I would like say it like that. I don't know if I could say anything about my really, because it seems to me that everything is happening so by itself that that it's very hard to say that there's an angle of having a way. In a way, it's become so effortless now.
Yeah.
But to start out with, I would say that when there was like something that needed to surrender itself to life so that life could become effortless. Right there, I would say that like the dedication to truth, yeah. But right there, when I say truth, I don't just mean the awakening. I mean like the whole thing. I mean the fact that, I mean, everything that has ever been uncovered in that name of truth is all a part of the same picture. You know, it's all, and it's not even a picture, it's all a part of reality. So it doesn't really matter what tradition we're looking at, and like this is most important or this is most important. It's not about what's most important. It's simply about the fact that we have so much to discover. all of us, you know. And right there, we can share with each other. We don't have to go into roles of teachers and students or gurus and disciples and stuff like this, but it can happen on a much more quiet level in a way, where friendship is the base, but it's also based on respect. It's based on love, basically. It all runs on love, yeah?
Yeah. Nice, yeah. What would you say? The fact that people seem to have trauma, is this a hindrance for this experiencing of your true nature?
You know, in a way I could say that trauma creates a distortion of that inner voice which we are to follow when we allow ourselves to trust in our own authority. So in that sense, yes, it can be. But rather than seeing that as an obstacle, as if, okay, this is our true nature and this is not, then why not see everything, every situation that we're in, every angle of our way of life as an invitation to resolve another piece of that which in totality, which will only lead us deeper and deeper into deeper and deeper knowing, more and more being. But in a way, it's like if there's not, it has its way. Life and truth has its way. And right there, that the willingness to complete self-honesty and like the willingness to dedicate ourselves to that love of truth. The love of truth, it cannot actually be said better than that, because the love of truth means that everything which isn't true, everything which isn't completely honest, everything which isn't completely loving, it gets to dissolve. And at different phases in our entire evolution, we have different things that count within this. Different realities count within different phases of our recognition and our realization. That means that we cannot sit and say that this is right and this is wrong. It's all about the way of that particular soul, in addition to its blueprint. Like, what is it meant to find out in this lifetime? How deeply is it supposed to deepen itself, and into where? And that's basically what determines whether we are like attracted to like a heart path or a mind path or a whatever. But it's only the outset. And once we've broken through to reality, that's in a way, that's again, this with like everything is a beginning. I could say that that's the beginning, because right then, when there is an actual taste of truth within the being, from that moment on, that taste can be brought into everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This cleans up. Do you experience some kind of free will?
Oh. Okay, so when we let go completely into the heart, in a way we give up completely our free will. We give up that free will which we before were using as control. But there's a specific passage point. And while before we were someone surrendering to God, when it passes that point, all of a sudden, there's unity with that life. That's not equal to sitting and stating, I'm God. It's not like that. But it's kind of like that which is looking out through the eyes is that. So if that is brought into the capacity and the potential of pure mind, then right there, the expanse of pure mind, which is the primordial silence, when the mind is plugged in when pure mind is plugged in with pure heart, then all of a sudden everything is free will.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that everything is free will is not like from the navel up. And that means that the moment that there is like a total respect for humility towards, actually I could say the moment there is an embrace of earth as a part of that equation of truth, right there, no matter what the extent of free will that shows up, there is also at the same time a complete disappearance of any willingness to use free will for something, for anything, really. It becomes like such a level of surrender, of love of what is already the case, that there is no wanting anything which isn't the case. And right there it's like there is the body and the human living its life, but right under the surface of the skin there is immeasurable power. But it's just not it doesn't want to be used for anything. So when we come into that humility of her, that's actually when the real softening happens. Because all of a sudden there's not something imposing change on existence, on the manifestation. And that kind of softness actually opens up more and more for the reality of the pure passion, which is that infinite power. And the greater that softness can be held in that humility, the greater is that opening to that power. But at the same time, yeah. Yeah.
So, would you say that you are the creator of your life, of your manifestation, of your creation? Is it an active part that you experience?
Which level do you want me to speak from?
It's up to you.
I will take your question as a human then. As a human, I would say that I am here only because God put me here. I would also say that wherever I go, I only go because God tells me to go there. From my heart, I would say that I'm not just the creator of my reality, I'm the creator of all of this. And that is witnessed in the sense that whenever there's a change happening there, it manifests in the world like this. To everyone that there is a connection with my heart in. And from here, I would say that I have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing going on here. It's fun, Lisa. Reality is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Life is crazy, simply.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there traps on the way? Would you say there are traps? And which one would you say is the most tricky one?
There are so many traps. Oh my God. Yeah. The most tricky one, the thing is that oh Jesus, which one? Oh yeah. Well, with the purification of the heart, we have one little trickster called the Savior syndrome. I like to call it that.
Okay.
Yeah. With the mind, yeah, you know, they're like all three dimensions have each their traps. But the one I probably would like to mention most is that of the Savior thing, because it tends to become like a reality of that which doesn't have. Oh God, I don't. It's all too big. Oh.
What about the spiritual ego? Do you know that one?
I would say that I have spiritual ego. That's where there is like a straying away from the basic humility of the honesty. There are different angles of this spiritual ego. You know, the spiritual ego is most likely to set itself when there's not like a full surrendering into the heart. Because right there's something which still isn't completely humble to the reality of everything.
Yeah.
And yet it has, you know, the taste of truth. And then that's what it wants to bring forward. But every part of the manifestation of the existence is likely to, as I said, this that grabs things, is likely to pick this up. And especially if we talk about the reality that, okay, we have something to share, but we don't have a healed bottom line. So when this bottom line is not healed, and at the same time we start stepping forth as truth, and the projection starts coming, I must say that I haven't seen one person, one human being who was able to step forth starting teaching without getting caught in this trap. I myself did the same thing. And then at some point it was like, okay, I could see this is not to the point. Like when people, it's almost like the more you come in as that, the greater is the projection. So if you are not solidly, and I mean really thoroughly rooted in absolutely fucking nothing, then that projection, it will fuck you up. That's how it is. And right there, if we then have a lack of capacity to turn over all of this projection, then it falls straight into that bag of that wounding of that someone who didn't get love, which just thrives on the attention. That's kind of fucked up. It happens a lot. So in some way, I haven't had like any teachers here. I've had a lot of teaching from the subtle planes, and in that sense, I would say I've been incredibly lucky. I've been incredibly blessed with such grace that has like constantly, I've had like the protection of actually having like a knock on my head if I stepped out of line, you know? So in that sense, it's also why I am where I am today, of course, which is here.
It's a very subtle trap.
Thing is, though, that all of these little subtle angles of the psyche, all of these little subtle angles of the human and its lack of wholeness, the little subtle angles of the playing out of the woundings, the subtle angles of that which can like grasp itself, trying to get away from the pain of existence, from the part of being human, all of that which is basically trying to constantly get away from things. All of that creates these subtle little twists of the mind, of the speech, of the feelings, of the actions, all of that. And it is very tricky. There's no doubt about it. It's very, very tricky. But this is also why, unless we really come into like a full humility towards the recognition of truth through every dimension, then we will not be able to uproot these different hideouts for the misunderstandings. Yeah.
When we see all these traps, these little things, do you think it's good to have, or important to have a guru?
Okay, now you say guru. There's just so much around that word. So anyway, the word guru means someone who leads from darkness to light, yeah? In that sense, when we say guru as well, we see disciples. We see someone putting someone above themselves. We see something up here, which I'm not, and then we see like the identification state or something down here as something. So I want to remove this word, and I want to replace it by the word janitor.
Okay.
Because the janitor carries around all the keys. And these keys are infinitely valuable to the people who are entering these different rooms in reality. So yes, it is very, very valuable to be connected with, to have a relation with, to be in line with a provider of keys. Definitely. But it's not because it's someone and someone else. It's just the reality of love. You know, it's like whatever is realized in terms of love, in terms of the reality of allowing the efficiency of consciousness to happen. That if we make this, you know, I'll do it by myself. There is something which can park itself in a self-sufficiency, which then becomes less than humble. At the same time, if we go all humble and throw our own authority out the window, then we can get stuck in that part. So it's some balance, which is ever so quiet, between humility and self-authority. If the authority is not there, then the humility is useless, because in terms of picking up keys, unless there is an own authority, an own willingness to become that, and not just to give your life away as if you can just like, I don't have to deal with it. But if you hold the responsibility for your own life, and then is humble enough to receive the keys, then a janitor can insert these keys into the authority of your being. But both are needed, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a danger of abuse, spiritual abuse of the janitor to the one who needs help? Or an advice?
Completely. There is every option.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's why if you see something which is straight enough, it's like some people, you know, they even move towards those places where they're meant to get a teaching of a, you know, because they want to give their life away. And if then the teacher is in that place of like wanting that confirmation, that they can play a game together. But the moment that there is an actual call for truth inside, then that part of applying your sense of feeling, that doesn't mean that you will not run into like this that you call abuse, but which is actually, it's always a two-way street. But nonetheless, there's like the deeper that surrender is, the more being which is held within one's own being, the more responsibility we also have to carry, you know. We cannot let like the little girl or boy play on that field of like holding, in a way I could say, the responsibility for people's souls, because on a heart level, on that God consciousness level, that's exactly what's happening. And these people, they cannot move freely, they cannot see freely on those levels. And just because the teacher might be able to, I mean, it's just, one has to really resonate inside oneself with the authority of the teacher, in a way I could say. Must really resonate, you know. It's not about going to see a teacher because it's a good idea. You must really feel it from the inside that this is where you're supposed to be going. If you are following your authority from where you are to wherever you're going, if you follow your own authority there, then you're also holding that self-responsibility, you know? You're always holding that self-responsibility, whether you want it or not. So if you are holding that self-responsibility, then the authority of your being will always be a meeting with the reality of the other being. And thereby like a filtration of, okay, is this to the point? Is this straight or is it not? Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of people who have been somewhere and then have fallen into some kind of trap like this. I call it a trap. You know, it's not a trap because there's nothing fixed ever, and it's like nothing is dangerous really. I mean, your willingness to let go and your willingness to embrace truth is the only thing that matters, and then to allow yourself to move around and like to follow your heart through this playground of a world that means everything. So even if it's severe on one, I mean, in terms of holding the reality, that the severity of it, I mean, one has to really come down to see the very, like the grains of sand, the karmic grains of sand that can move around through the air, you know? Also, I mean, not only to protect oneself, but to protect like the reality of the totality. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there techniques of awakening?
Well, are there techniques? I would never hand you one if that's what you're asking.
Now, we made a survey for the interview. The subscribers could tell us what they wanted to know, more likely. So we have some questions what people want to know.
Yeah.
So
in terms of techniques, as far as I can see, we have people who have awakened. They have come to that recognition, realization in a certain way. They're uncovering parts of the map, and the way that one being has walked will never be the one that another one will walk again. That's a part of the whole painting going on here. But that doesn't mean that there cannot be this calling, you know, calling from reality, calling inwards. And it doesn't mean that there is not like these basics of like returning to the silence of the mind, for instance, you know. You talk about techniques. In a way, I could say once it starts getting too technical, I would say that there is that teacher would not be speaking like that if there had been a surrender in the heart as well.
Or maybe a practical exercise, or maybe even inner attitude. For example, if someone wants to go into satsang, what kind of inner attitude maybe should be there?
Yeah, sure. There's the thing is though that I'm actually writing a book right now, and all of the different angles of this is in the book. Now you're speaking specifically about satsang, for instance. I said before about the humility, the coexistence of the humility and authority. That is what makes satsang interesting. So it's like if you sit down to take in another being, allow yourself to surrender fully to receive, yeah? But in that reception, when that is being digested in you, constantly hold it up into that cup of the authority of your own being. In terms of an attitude, the attitude of humility is the only thing that makes sense in a satsang. Because the humility, the receptivity is that which makes it possible for keys to stick themselves into your keyholes, you know. But if you come with some kind of like a judgmental testing, trying something attitude, then it's just someone, and that someone just needs to drop, you know. It's not worth anything. It's the fighter. It's something that wants to like confirm. It's, I don't know, you know, just like some weird twist of that which could just be that softness of relaxation and of reception.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
It rarely happens though that people enter in that state. Nonetheless, it doesn't take long before they settle into that. But at the same time, it's like, I would say in a way, the power of the satsang teacher
Yeah, I know.
very much determines, like, as a helping force to allow and help people to actually let go inside themselves. You know? It's more like, I would say, it depends on the depth of realization in the satsang teacher.
Yeah.
Because the deeper that one has surrendered in any dimension of being, you know, some satsang teachers sit and speak just heart.
Yeah.
Sit and only like the silence of the mind and so on and so forth. But I would say that the depth of cultivation within the satsang teacher, like how deeply has that one merged with the silence, how deeply has that one merged with God, and so on and so forth, or with the Black Mother. That's basically what determines how capable people are of receiving what's in front of them. Because that's the power with that realization is present. Just like if I'm holding, you know, like a little flame like this, or if I'm like sitting with a torch like this, you know, can you see it? It's kind of like this, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end, probably you could say something, enlightenment in God. Could you say something about this? Enlightenment and God.
Enlightenment and God?
God.
Why did you put the word enlightenment in front of it?
Because enlightenment is the highest state of pure consciousness, which for humans is possible to reach. And God is the highest. Do you see a connect between them? Could you say something?
Say something about it. Well, I can say that in that, I mean, I can describe the way in there for you if you want. It's kind of like the deeper you let go into the heart. And right now you said God, but we have the divine masculine and we have the divine feminine, yeah? But if we speak about the heart as that which leads to God, yeah? Okay, we can do that. It's just when you say it like this, I mean, there are so many angles on it, so I just want to ask. I just want to close in on what you're actually asking. Yeah. But in a way, I could say that the deeper our surrender is, the greater a fulfillment of the soul happens, and the more and more we merge into the big soul, where it's no longer about a soul, but the soul. And as that happens, in my experience, it was like a passing past all of the human needs. And in a way, I could say that the body actually turned very like not human. It's almost like the software in the system. It turned like from the survival based into like pure love as the running system in the body. And yeah, it's a state which is so completely beyond control that it's actually unimaginable. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a message for the audience?
I'll say that the message is surrender.
Okay.
Very lovely to sit with you guys. Happy to be in the boat with you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.